Welcome to Interesting Enough. He is Trey. I am Nolan. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. This is your first time listening to the podcast. Again, thank you. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, all that good stuff. We got a special guest, but Trey, man, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. We got a special guest coming on today, so, hey, we popping.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. We're about a week out from the championship, so I'll probably be in a little bit better mood. But we got our guy Jesse back. Jesse, be nice. All right, I know you're a recurring guest, but be nice. I'm still very sensitive. The wound is still open, so if you are gonna say anything about the heat, just ask you, just be nice, man. But how you feeling?
Bro, I'm glad to be on the show, back on the cast with y'all. But I feel you, my Eagles lost in the Super Bowl, man. I know it'd be hurting, especially when you're watching it and it's happening. You can't really you try not to have no emotions, but you was like, dang, just be happy y'all had a good season. Y'all made it farther than y'all was expecting. Y'all was literally in a play-in game. Like, y'all could have not been in the playoffs, and y'all ended up running through the best teams in the East, beating them all. And y'all just had to play a team where you had an unstoppable force. Like, y'all had a good season.
Yeah, man. It wasn't. I ain't gonna lie. I don't be trying to hear that at the time. It's fine now. It's fine now. But, so what it made me think of is, so I was watching the finals in the last game, and at the parents' house. My mom was over, and so basically, Game 5's ending or whatever, and she wasn't really watching most of the game, but she popped out and she was like, this is like the clock just hit 0. And, the confetti's going down. It's like 10 seconds after this happened, right? So I'm on the couch. I'm not in a good mood. And the first thing my mom says is she was like, well, they had a great season. And instinctively, you forget it's your mom. The first thing I said was, I was like, I'm not trying to hear that right now. And I had to then I take him out. I was like, all right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
I thought you went full Anglo, boy.
No.
That's what I thought too. I was like, hold it, Nolan. When you started acting like this?
No, I didn't go crazy, but I did have a quick snap reaction. And she was just kind of like, oh, well, I was just saying, but I'm like, I ain't trying to hear that right now. It just happened.
So let me ask y'all this, though. Is it better to be like a fan of a team that came up short, or be like a fan of like the Orlando Magic, where we're like so far back in the pack that nobody even talks about us?
Almost anything is better than being a fan of the Orlando Magic, Trey. I'm sorry. There's levels. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be, but
see, I really take that disrespectful, but like I said, y'all just got dusted in the finals, so I'm gonna let that slide.
but I will say, here's the thing, like with the championship part of it, it's like, first of all, like we talked about in the pod, it's a combination of both. We had two teams from the same city in the championship, so like it just hurt like double because both teams lost.
I forgot about the Panthers,
right? So you got to put that in perspective. Like that's really a part of it too. And then the second part about it is like this is the second time the Heat just lost in the championship in the course of like 4 years. So like I still kind of sore from 2020. And also, I felt like it was a magical run. No, I'm just saying. I just want to say this.
No,
it felt like it was a magical run.
No,
go ahead, man.
Doggone well, y'all boys ain't had no business being in either of them championship games.
No. We had more business in the first one.
No, you gotta make me not be nice talking about it 2 years. Like, boy, the fact that y'all got there, you should be lucky.
No, you're right. I agree with you on that. It's just like, I know we're not supposed to be there, but since we here, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I want to win it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I know it's, obviously we know how hard it is to get back to the championship. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I know we're not really supposed to be here. Cause I was telling Trey this too, Jesse. Of all my years being a Heat fan, like growing up, my entire life, there's been two specific moments where like, yeah, we've had like losses, we lost in championships, whatever. There's only two moments where like I was legitimately like butthurt. It's two moments. It's game 6, 2011 finals when JJ Barea was going crazy.
Oh yeah.
That like hurt my soul because it wasn't like dirt.
You had a Home Depot worker boy cooking y'all.
and the reason it hurt too, and like I had never remember. I'm like in high school at this time because we had LeBron and D Wade. I actually had never. It's a life lesson. I actually never considered like the idea of us actually losing in the championship. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if we went down the series, like in my head, I'm like, yeah, we got LeBron, D-Wade, we're going to figure it out. Like, and from that moment on, when I watch any of my favorite teams in sports, heck, matter of fact, in life, like I usually try to consider like if I want to get something, like just put in your brain, like, what is the possibility, like, if you lose? Just that way so you won't be, like, blindsided. So that's one. And then the second one happened in the Boston series. That game 6 when Derek White hit that buzzer-beating layup, I was so hurt. Like, I was so hurt. Like, I was so hurt because I was like, it felt like we let a chance slip away to, like, actually get back there. And, like, I was like, we can't blow the series. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, those are the only 2 moments, I was, like, legitimately hurt. Like, both of those were worse than the actual finals because, like you said, the writing was on the wall. Game 5, it kind of is what it is. They battled, and
game
like we just
5, boy. Game 1, what you talking about? Game 5, game.
Hey, chill out, man. Game
1, but if you see Joker and Murray, I was, oh no, this ain't gonna work out for y'all. Like, I mean, as soon as at first I was, you remember I sent you the text like, how you think Van's gonna be against Joker? Boy, game 1, I was, oh no, yeah, this ain't gonna go out very well for y'all boys. And I see Aaron Gordon, I was, oh no. He was out here bullying everybody. No, man, boy.
I mean, that stuff was fine, but like we talked about, like when I started seeing Christian Brown going, I said, all right, bro.
Oh yeah,
we had. I was like, bro, all right,
right.
bro. I was like, all right, bro. Like we gotta go. Like I was like Christian Brown and Bruce Brown. I'm like, come on. And Bruce Brown's my guy. He went to Miami, but I'm like, nah, bro. He can't. Bro, he was pulling up from 3. I was like, all right, bro. Like I was like, this is getting ridiculous. But
y'all
yeah,
was
I mean,
missing like the third best player though. So I mean, there's that part too.
Yeah, I don't know if we would have won the series, but it does. I at least wanted to see the team healthy, and like I talked about with Trey, like Victor Oladipo is like a lot more important than people did realize at the time too. So not having both of them, it kind of hurt. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the finals. That's over. I'm not rehashing that. That's gonna hurt my feelings. Trey, I know you want to talk about this baby Gronk situation, man. So like, what's going on with that?
Okay, so for those who don't know, baby Gronk, I think he's like a 10-year-old. I'm gonna just call him a football sensation, well, social media sensation. And the reason he's really been popping off is just because he's a lot larger than anybody his age in his age group, and that's why he's called Baby Gronk. He's been able to be dominant on the football field, and he's had some visits with Alabama. He's taking pictures with Nick Saban and I think Steve Sarkisian at Texas. So he's had a lot of public visits and taking pictures with these coaches, which has really made him gain a lot of social media attention. Here recently, we realized that his father has been sliding into a lot of DMs of podcasters and fellow social media stars, trying to get them to collaborate with Baby Gronk. And is one recent interview, I think it happened like last week sometime, and he was feeding Baby Gronk answers throughout the whole interview. It was a podcast he was doing with some social media stars, and he was feeding Baby Gronk answers throughout the whole podcast. He told him to stop the podcast to re-ask questions so he could feed Baby Gronk the answers. And if you just look at the video, it didn't really look like Baby Gronk really had any kind of amusement on his face. It really didn't seem like he really enjoyed all of this. And it started to cause a bigger discourse online about, what's rights, what's the parents' rights in this? Should he be able to do that? Should the podcasters even be interviewing a 10-year-old, even if he is there with his dad? It just started to create a whole storm of questions. And it didn't help that Baby Gronk's dad is an aspiring musician, so it kind of seems like he's trying to gain in the cloud as well and trying to put his name out there. So I just kind of wanted you guys' opinions about it. How did you feel about it? Especially you, Jesse, being a parent. How did you feel about it? Maybe if your kid was kind of popping off, would you try to make him into a social media star at the age of 10 years old? Or like, how do you just feel about it in general?
I think for me, there's 3 levels for like the whole parenting and having your child be famous or whatnot. And the 3 examples I'll give, we'll start from the bottom. First off, kids, I don't like kids being exploited in any way. I don't believe in like having them do crazy things, because all these kids that end up, I think Julian Newman and his dad type stuff, like all these kids end up sorry. Like they end up literally being sorry by the time they're in high school. No, for real. They'd be sorry by the time you get to high school, college, and like their best days was like their middle school or high school days. And like when you let kids be kids, like they're 10 years old, like no one cares. I mean, as a child, they don't care about all that. Like they just want to enjoy time with their family, with their friends. I think like I would never do that. I don't even like child stars in general, like acting and all that. When you get to your teenage years and it's like your kids on board and they're trying to hustle, like that's something different. Like I believe in that. When I get to that, I think like LeVar Ball type stuff. Like if your kids is out here trying to hustle and you out there doing what you gotta do to help them, knock yourself out. Especially like they making their own decisions where like they want to do it. And then last, when they adults and like they got some sort of a talent and you trying to help maximize this, go what's that general lady name? Kim's mama.
I'm not sure.
The Kardashian mom.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know the lady name.
Yeah, I don't remember her first name, but yeah, I'm the bad guy to ask for that type of stuff. But yeah, we know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Manage your adult children's career and help them prosper if you want to. But for kids, man, let kids be kids. Like they don't need to be doing. I don't even want my kids on social media, to be honest with you. So I would definitely not have no interviews. And it's just not a good look. But let that man live, I guess, because he make his own decisions. He's gonna see what's gonna happen when they get older.
So I also think, like, to your point, Jesse, the first thing I was thinking of when you mentioned like Julian Newman, because that's a good point. Also, a big factor. I don't know what the baby Gronk, but like I was just looking up Trey. Like I see the videos of him, like, you know, lifting weights and stuff like that. Like obviously some of that stuff probably isn't great that young. Like you can stunt your growth. Like Julian Newman also just is short. Like let's just call it what it is. Like basketball's a tall man sport. No, but to be real, basketball's a tall man sport. And what is he, like 5'6", 5'7", 5'8"? Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just not a tall person. So like you'd have to be ridiculously great for that to happen. Now, if Julian Newman was 6'3", 6'4", maybe it's a different story. Now, the second part I was going to think of with get your opinion on this for you guys. These guys weren't necessarily child stars from that young, but how about the balls, right? Like they actually ended up working out and they actually ended up going to the league, and despite like a bunch of pressure. Now, I don't know if that's different because it does feel like LeVar Ball was the star of their situation, and sometimes the kids were the subplot. And maybe that was calculated, maybe it wasn't calculated, but because I've heard even LaMelo Ball talk about it, they felt the reverse, where they didn't feel as much pressure because they felt like it was just their dad talking, and like the dad was just going to get attention. But so I don't know if that's a different situation, but with the baby Gronk, obviously the scary thing is, you know, parents sometimes do have like ulterior motives, right? Like they want to live through their kids, and we just hope it's in a healthy way. Also, Trey, I don't know if there's any other evidence besides that one interview, but like it'd probably be hard to say if the kid looked uncomfortable once. Like, do we know? You know what I mean, kind of thing. And you know, it'd be just kind of a hard situation to tell.
Yeah, no, that definitely would be a hard situation to tell. One thing I will say though, like based on what you said earlier, just about the size, they did mention that I think his dad is only like 5'8" or 5'9", so that has coming up since then. Like, hey, he's the biggest kid right now, but that might not be true 5 years from now. So like, you're putting a lot of pressure on him, just from an athletic standpoint, at least.
Well, but, look, at least with football, hey man, if he's fast enough, you can be a 5'9" running back. You know what I'm saying, and like kind of like figure it out. Like basketball is just such a detrimental. Like basketball, you got to be like starting at 6'2", like to be even like, I mean, to get like a real shot. Like who is the NBA players right now that's below like 6 feet or below? Like I can only think of like Fred VanVleet off the top of my head. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. It's more of those just these little kid stars don't be stars when they're older. Like none of them. And I think parents need to realize this and just stop that. Like if you want to support them, go ahead, but you don't need to be having them do crazy stuff. Like they kids, they may end up being sorry as can be once they're older. They may not even want to do it no more because you don't push them so hard. Like let them live, figure out what they want to do, and once they get to their teenage, high school years, like that's when you start showing them like the ropes and do whatever training you want at that point. But if they elementary, middle school, let these kids live. Because you remember that little black kid with the braids back in the day that's supposed to be like,
dribbling,
like he ended up being at some D2 type school. Like let these kids live, man. Stop doing it to these kids. They're gonna be your best case is Aaron Carter's. Like, and look what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I about to say that wasn't a good case either.
No, I'm saying that's how it be for these child stars. Like Miley Cyrus is like the only one I know that made it. Or like your Disney type girls. Like outside of them, like half these kids end up like flaming out. They flame out.
Yeah. Some of them are unfortunately sad stories. Like you got the substance abuse ones. Like there's just a lot of different situations that isn't great. So, but yeah, I mean, now that you put it on the radar, Trey, like I'm definitely gonna keep an eye out for it. I'm probably gonna reference that interview. But yeah, we'll throw it out to people, man, to definitely see what they think about the baby Gronk situation. But yeah, man, let's move on. We got a lot of basketball to get into. We're gonna get into the trades that happened, right? We're gonna get into the draft a little bit later. But Jesse, we didn't have you on like we wanted to right after the finals. So I kind of wanted to bring this up. We wanted to wait until the finals was over. So we know Denver won. There's a lot of legacy talk with Jokic, right? So there's a lot of where he ranks. There's a lot of I personally feel like this, and Trey, Trey, I always like say it, like we're just a reactionary like society. So like if a guy just like wins the MVP, like he's the best thing since sliced bread, like for Embiid, for example. But then like he didn't perform in the playoffs and Jokic did. Now some people are like regretting, like Trey said he regretted maybe even picking him for MVP, which again, it's a regular season award. So, but again, they are separate things. But again, people do feel this way. So first things first with Jokic, I know kind of your thoughts with how you felt about Jokic before. Now, what has changed since Jokic has won the championship for you, like in terms of his legacy where he stacks up, in terms of how he stacks up like currently as best player in the league or 1A, 1B, whatever it is?
So after I ain't watched Jokic before this season, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Like I ain't watched it. I ain't watched it. I see highlights quick. But after watching these games, boy, Jokic is the best player in the league. Boy, I don't care what nobody say. And I said it just because like he is literally doing everything. He's out here. They court general. This man's out here. They rim protector when needed. I know he's not like the greatest defender, but he hold his own. It ain't like he above Dirk when it comes to like your all time greats. Like I got him over Dirk. Facts. I don't care what nobody say. He above Dirk because I'm be honest, Dirk wasn't giving people problems like him. Dirk can shoot. Dirk, don't get me wrong. Dirk was a bucket getter, but Jokic, he get buckets. He can facilitate. He rebounds. Like, and he not like a liability on defense. Like he literally is holding his own. And he got that one ring. I got him. I want him to be like a Tim Duncan in terms of legacy. He's not on Timmy's level yet just because Timmy got 5. But he's the second greatest international big outside Tim Duncan. I'm going to say Tim Duncan number 1. But he's the second best international big. And if the Denver Nuggets can like win a few more rings, like he's going to be up there on your all-time greats. Right now, I think he definitely like the best player in the NBA right now. I love Giannis, but Jokic on some other stuff right now. And it's just his time.
Trey, I want to know how you feel about it, but I think it's fair. Jokic, it's okay. He can have the mantle, right? Like he did his job. He won the championship. Like, and after winning a couple MVPs, and like this is just a trajectory of the players. Like I just didn't want to crown him too early, but I still would go with Giannis. However, if you tell me you go with Jokic, you can have that argument. You know what I mean? And honestly, it's funny because we've talked about the top 75 before. I didn't even realize. I don't know if y'all know he didn't actually make the top 75 list from last year, or was it last year or the year before? He actually didn't make it. So, which is obviously like a big indictment. But anyway, Trey, how are you feeling about Jokic now?
I agree with everything that Jesse said. I really do believe at this point, this championship, like it kind of topped off his career, where now he's probably the second greatest foreign center of all time, maybe second greatest foreign player of all time if you put him behind Duncan. I just think if he wins another one, like I'm saying one more, I even think he might be on the level of Duncan at that point just because of how much he contributed to the win. Like I love Duncan, but he had David Robinson. I know he was older, but he had David Robinson the first time. Then he had Tony Parker and then Manu, and then Kawhi came along. But when you look at this team, I love Jamal Murray, but this is Jokic's team. Like he carried this team, and he did it in like just a dominant fashion. I mean, the only time he lost 2 games in the series was against Phoenix, and at that point, it was just Devin Booker and Kevin Durant going on like a historical scoring tear. That was it. Like Jesse said, I mean, even defensively, that's his liability. I mean, I guess that's his weak spot, but it's not a liability. That's what I should have said. It's his weak spot, but it's not a liability. He still holds his own. And I mean, what he's able to do just as a facilitator and as a scorer, I think he's probably the best player in the league right now. Now, could Giannis take away that title next year? Yeah, it's possible. I don't think the league is in a position where we have a Michael Jordan or LeBron James where they're unquestionably the greatest player of their time. I think it's kind of a thing that can kind of seesaw. Maybe next year's Luka. Maybe the year after that is Zion. Like it can it's bearable. Like it can go either way. But right now, yeah, you have to get a title to Jokic.
I think it's fair with the title. I just think that, first of all, Trey, you're being mad disrespectful to Tim Duncan. He got like you're being mad disrespectful to Tim Duncan. Even if he was another. Even
I knew you were going to say that, but I'm just saying if you compare Jokic to Tim, I mean, obviously we don't know what this Denver team is going to look like when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'm going with your assumption that you said if he wins another one.
Yeah, but yeah, I said that, but I just want to put it. I always want to put this out there before you start attacking me. Regardless of it being like an older David Robinson, it was still David Robinson. Like I'm just saying, he didn't Jokic just didn't have one of those all-time great players on his team. That's all I was saying.
Well, we don't know what Jamal Murray is going to end up being. So I think
he's not an all-time great.
He's not an all-time great right now.
No. I'm telling you, he's not an all-time great. Like, move on and find something else.
Ooh. Listen, all I know is you talking about David Robinson in 2003. Duncan was carrying that squad. You remember when he almost had that quadruple double against the Nets? David Robinson, yeah, you were like, yeah, he's David Robinson, the one who was averaging 8 points and 5 rebounds. That David Robinson in 03. I'm just saying, like, I know what you mean.
Like, about the 99 David Robinson.
I'll give you the one in 99 for sure. But like, he was on the last legs, 37 years old.
You're right.
Duncan got way too much of a resume outside of just the championship, the 2 MVPs, the 3 Finals MVPs. He's like a 10-time first team All NBA guy. Let's not even talk about the defense. Let's not, like, he's a defensive player of the year guy. You know what I'm saying? So, or a defensive first team defensive guy, I should say. And I got to pull back on one thing though. Hold on. Don't get it twisted. Jokic is still a liability on defense. Don't get it twisted because the Heat couldn't shoot and make no shots. He's still a liability on defense. Like, don't let the finals fool you. He's still
I'm not gonna say liability. That's too strong of a word.
Why? He can't move his feet defensively.
Well, I think just to add the perspective. First off, Nolan, I'm agreeing with you because Tim Duncan is the greatest in terms of. Well, I'm not gonna say greatest, but he's one of the top bigs to ever play the game. Jokic not quite there yet. Mm-hmm. He's at least 3 to 4 rings to be in that conversation. I'm gonna say 4. Getting that Shaq, Kareem type conversation, but
yeah,
Jokic ain't playing no bigs. Ain't no big man in the NBA no more.
That's true. Also,
I agree with you on that.
And Tim Duncan out here going against KGs, out here going against your
I know Dirk's not great defensively, but he's the size wise.
Your Shaqs, your Paul Gasols, your Mark Gasols. He was going against all kind of your Zebos.
Chris Webbers.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Webbers. Like, it was all bigs. Yeah, Mari Stoudemire. Like, he was playing all these bigs back when being big was like the thing.
Yeah.
And he was dominating bigs. And it wasn't on and the way he played, he kind of like a big quad, low key. Like, it was on some fundamental type stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think with Jokic, in his defense, it ain't his fault who he's playing. Like, it's just what the league is, right? So, like, he got to do what he has to do. Here's Jokic's argument, right? He has a chance to probably win another MVP or two, like, just because of his age. He's pretty durable. He's played 82 games. I'm looking at it like at least 3 or 4 different times, 80 games, a handful of times. So he's pretty durable. His game isn't predicated on athleticism. Neither was Duncan's really, but Jokic is definitely not. So, and I think he's got a second star player if they can stay together and stay healthy. That seems pretty like egoless. He understands that he's a number 2. And like Jamal Murray seems like the type of guy, like, I don't think he's going to be rushing anywhere to go try to be a number 1 guy. I think he kind of knows who he is. So I think that's in a good spot. Now, if they can get rid of drunk coach Mike Malone, that'd be great. But other than that, like, this team is, like you said, they're pretty much set up for success. And Jokic can have the mantle. He can have the mantle this year.
Can I ask one question? Hold on. I want to ask one other question.
Yeah.
Why Mike Malone? Why he keep taking all these shots? Like, in the media, the Lakers like, why are you mad? You just won.
So here's my well, I don't even know if I have a theory on it. First of all, I do want to say for the record, with my fandom as a Heat fan, I actually realized after the finals that I hold permanent scars when the teams beat the Heat. Like, so Dallas, I just will never rock with Dallas to this day. Like, no matter what, because I'm just like permanently scarred and I'm just gonna always be upset and I won't let it go. And now Denver's on that list. And I used to kind of like the Denver team. But you know what? I don't even dislike Jokic. I don't dislike Murray, Gordon. All those guys are fine to me. Christian Brown was a little annoying, but like fine. The Coach Malone thing, it got ridiculous. And it started like I said, back with the Lakers series. It's like, I understand him defending his players and, you kind of want your coach to do that, right? Speak up for them. But at the same time, you in the championship parade and you still take a shot to the Lakers. Forget the championship parade. I already told y'all the most annoying thing ever. They just won a championship. They're on the court. 5 minutes after that, he's talking about they're going to win another one. And I'm like, I know people say that, but like, I just don't want to hear from Coach Malone, man. Like, he did a lot of complaining and crying and stuff like that. And like about the Nuggets not getting respect. First of all, he was talking about no, he's right. They didn't get respect for the most part. But he's still talking about that in the finals when they was playing the Heat, the ultimate underdog. I'm like, bro, you got to let that go. Like, if the Heat aren't talking about, like, if anybody's going to talk about not getting respect, between those two teams, it was the Heat. So, like, once you kind of got past the respecting in the Lakers, like you are the favorite at this point. So like I don't want to hear any more underdog talk. So like it just kind of rubbed, I guess, myself the wrong way, it rubbed some people the wrong way. But look, he can gloat in it. He's a championship coach. You know, he's got a great team, and they're pretty much all set up for success in the future. So it's really not really much I could say on that for the most part. But yeah, I mean, with Jokic legacy wise, I'm assuming you guys, I mean, we don't have to list, but he's now surpassed the Barkleys and those type of guys, I'm assuming, just because of the championship, right? So
I mean, them MVP years was dominant, but that championship ring, yes, sir.
Okay, so he's surpassed that, and then you're putting him past Dirk, like you said, because I don't know, Dirk's one championship like does hold a lot of value, and Dirk did put up a body of work, and he's still I think in the top 6 or 7 scoring all time. So like, are we just going off it like if Jokic's career ended today? Or are we just going with the assumption like he just puts together 5 more years of like dominance?
I say both. Jokic is over Dirk to me right now.
Like today, if his career ended today, that's it.
Well, he's not gonna have the accolades because he ain't had the time. But
which would matter though? That was what I'm saying.
I know, but I'm at the point where I'm confident he's gonna be there.
Okay. To me, I'm looking at it like he has another at least 3 years where he's putting up similar stats and similar accolades. Maybe not necessarily championships and MVPs, but he's just still, adding on to the resume.
Yeah, and I think even 3 is too short because he's 28. You know what I mean? So there's no reason that he can't do this to listen to at least 33, 34.
I know. The reason I say 3 because, like you say, he's 28. Some players kind of fall off when they hit like 30, 31. Like it just happens.
Yeah, I just think his game is predicated off of like a lot of IQ stuff, a lot of just ball handling. So he may be like kind of get away with stuff. Kind of like Jesse, to your point, when Duncan got older, he still fell back on the fundamentals. You know what I mean? So like, even though he wasn't as athletic or dominant in that way, he could still be playable on the court. So, but yeah, I mean, you got to give Jokic his credit. But anyway, let's get to the real NBA stuff that's been going on. Off season started, and it started off hot.
Oh yeah. And
I was going to start talking about Dame, but then the Brad Beal trade happened. So obviously, people have already seen this. CP3, Brad Beal in a trade. Brad Beal's going to the Suns for basically a bag of donuts, and CP3 is going to the Wizards. He's probably going to get bought out. Jesse, I'm going to swing it to you first. What's your first thought when you saw that trade? Like maybe it was your first thought about just how the Suns are going to look, or was it you thinking more on the CP3 end of it?
I felt like I could have got traded for Bradley Beal first off. I was like, God damn. I was like, well, what is going on? I was like, that sounds like one of the worst trades of all time. But then I started thinking about 2 things. First off, that contract, boy, was probably the worst contract.
And that's the number one reason. Yeah.
The worst contract. And then number 2, I heard this perspective about how the guy that I think the GM for the Wizards worked with the Thunder. He finna be out here doing some work, boy. Because honestly, all they're going to be able to do is just continue to try to get assets. I know it's just second-round picks, but people start doing that salary cap dumping when they trying to get rid of a player. Throw a first-round pick with it. Throw this first-round pick with it. Like, if they could just start doing that, they're going to be on some Thunder-type stuff where before you know it, they're going to have a Shea-type player, you know what I'm saying? They'll have a Chet-type player. They're just going to have assets. It's going to be ugly for the next 3 to 5 years, but I feel like they're going to be actually better than the Suns are, because I still don't think the Suns are going to win the championship at the end of the day. I think they got a nice team, but unless they can trade Ayton for like 3 to 4 quality players, they're going to run into the same problem. A bunch of hurt people playing basketball. They do got some shooters. They got some of the greatest scorers in the league, but they still got that problem I told y'all about when the Suns got KD. They don't trade their whole team, and they ain't got no reserves.
Yeah, I like it. Trey, how you feeling about the deal?
At first I was really excited because I'm like, oh man, they're getting another great player in Bradley Beal. But then,
is he a great player? I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but like, I'm just not very high on Bradley Beal, and I'm not saying it because I didn't really even want the Heat to get him in general. But go ahead.
No. But you're right. Because that feeds into my point. Because then I started to think about him like, well, is he a great player? And he hasn't played over 60 games in the last 3 seasons, and he has I would say a pretty bad contract. And now you're locked in where we saw what Phoenix's main problem was this season was that they didn't have any bench players. They didn't have a rotation outside of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Chris Paul. Well, how is that going to get better now that you're paying Bradley Beal another $200 million? Like, I just don't understand. And Bradley Beal's always injured. Kevin Durant's always injured. DeAndre Ayton. And even Devin Booker, he deals with injuries every now and then. Like, I just don't understand how this really makes them better. It makes them top heavy. Under good nights, they're going to blow teams out because, like, nobody's going to be able to stop them. But in the playoffs, when you have time to kind of come up with a defensive scheme, when you have time, the other team has time to come up with an offensive scheme to kind of attack these players, because Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, none of them are lockdown defenders, especially not at this point in their careers. I just don't understand how this is going to push them over the top.
Okay, so a couple things. Let me just first off, let's get the elephant out in the room. Yes, I picked the Suns to beat the Nuggets, and they lost in the second round, and they lost in 6 games. And y'all both said I was crazy for picking that, so I was wrong. So I'll get that out of the way. Second, I'm just gonna get that because I feel like this is gonna come up at some point, so I'm just gonna address it and get it out of the way. Second, I don't think you can say, Trey, I'm gonna challenge you just on that point. I think they are a better team, because when you add a guy of that caliber, whether we think he's good, great, whatever, they're a better team. And let's be honest, they lost to the Nuggets in 6 games, and we know what the problem, like Jesse said, they didn't have a lot of depth. You know what the second problem was? When KD and Booker moved out the ball, they were swinging it to Josh Okogie and Landry Shamet and other guys that were hitting or missing. Now they got a third guy that we know can knock down shots. So, like, they're better off of that. And then, to me, if I'm them, they didn't have no depth anyway, so you might as well just go all in on the stars. And I will say an underrated point about Bradley Beal's contract. With the new CBA, like, without going into the details, we all know it's going to be hard to kind of add these, like, middle-tier players. But at least with the Bradley Beal contract, it's already set in stone before that CBA. So, like, they weren't going to have much flexibility anyway. So you might as well go get a star, and you got to maximize this while you have Kevin Durant. I mean, Kevin Durant's almost 35 years old at this point. So how much longer do you kind of have with that? And then my final point to the Ayton thing that you mentioned, Jesse, they would have to move off of Ayton, because I thought Ayton was the bigger issue more than CP3. Let's kind of call it what it is. When they got to play Jock Landale instead of Ayton, that's a problem. The only problem with the Ayton thing is his stock is too low right now to even move him, because you're not going to get a lot back for him. So it's kind of they're in a situation where, like, he probably has to at least play the start of the year and play well, so then they can, like, maybe move him around the deadline. And then you're in the same situation as you are last year. If you move him at the deadline, you get players. Now you got to do what the Lakers did and the Suns did. You got to incorporate players with like 20 games left, right? And then I'm kind of where Jesse's at with it and kind of where you're at with the Trey. They'll be an excellent team, but can they gel together, and come together in time to then win a couple playoff series and, like, get to the finals? That's the question I just don't know the answer to. So, but in terms of the CP3 part of the deal, I did want to mention, Trey, swing it to you first. What's next? What's the next step? Because, like, we hear a couple teams out there. Obviously, he won't be playing for Washington. That'd be atrocious. So he's going to be playing for another team. Where do you want to see CP3 go? And if you say the Lakers, I mean, you probably just gonna say Lakers, but where do you want him?
Tell him.
Hey, I mean, listen, the Lakers, it wouldn't be a bad landing spot if they were able to keep D'Angelo Russell so they can keep CP3's minutes down. All the speculation at this point is that he either gets bought out or traded, and if he is traded, it's to the Clippers, and if he's bought out, he's either to the Lakers or Clippers. The only other team that I thought he could be good at, and I don't think he would go there just because I don't think he wants to live there, is the Boston Celtics, though, because they actually need a point guard that can distribute the ball, that's not going to take bad shots, that can kind of control the offense when the game gets tight and everything gets stagnant later in the fourth quarter. And they just need one person, like one little person, to push them over the top. And then they're in the championship caliber team. Like, they're already there. They just need somebody to put them over the top. And I think even CP3 at this late stage in his career could be that person. But again, I just don't think it's very likely, just because I don't think he wants to live in Boston.
That's a beautiful take, boy. That's Boston thing. I ain't even thought about that, Trey. I love that. It ain't gonna happen, like you said, but that's beautiful.
I was gonna say, Jesse, where do you want to see him?
I mean, it ain't about where I want to see him, because he gonna be in Los Angeles. I don't know what team he gonna be on Los Angeles, but he going to LA, boy. I know that for a fact.
He's going back to LA.
Though, if he, I feel like the Wizards should low key, just see what happened, man. Just keep the man. He mess around, pull a thunder on them. You know what I'm saying? You got Porzingis, you got Kuzma. You need somebody to play point guard, because
I know you ain't over here trying to sell us on CP3 staying with the Washington Wizards.
Hey man, listen. I'm just thinking of. I ain't trying to. If you cut this man, you know how much money they're gonna pay. I'm out here thinking. I know it ain't gonna happen, but like,
right.
If he going to Los Angeles, let's just be real. He going to Los Angeles. It don't matter what I think. He going to LA.
I think my bet would probably be the Lakers. If you just had to ask me to bet one of the two, because I just think he probably would want to play with LeBron. And
that's
AD.
if he gets bought out, but if he get traded, like I feel like the Clippers are going to give a better value.
True. Oh, that's true, because they have more assets, so that is true. And I think both teams could use him in different ways. But then you got the dilemma of, well, now Westbrook is going to be gone, right? So then,
boy, that'll be some stuff.
Where does Westbrook kind of go at that point too? And I know, Trey, that's your boy. I don't know. There's a lot of spots if he doesn't play with the Clippers. Like I really, as well as he did play in the playoffs, I just don't know about a lot of spots right now.
And that's my boy. But like you said, I think his options are really dwindling. I don't see where Westbrook could go if it's not the Clippers. Like we're at the end of his career, honestly, if we're going to be honest.
The thing is, he played well enough in the playoffs, though, that he's got clearly a lot left in the tank.
But it's just his style of play. It just does not fit teams that are willing to compete. And then if you're not willing to compete, why do you want somebody that could push you over 10 games, like maybe possibly win 10 games when I'm trying to tank?
But to be fair, didn't he just disprove that with the Clippers? Because he's not the reason that they lost. He was probably their best player in the series.
But
Kawhi wasn't there and Paul George wasn't there for large stretches. So I think it's a lot of TBD. Like I'm saying, he was really good, but we didn't see him with the best players when it really matters.
Listen, man, if they can get CP3 and then Russ off the bench, they be straight.
There's no way. He ain't got no contract no more, chance they put
I'm just saying, though. He ain't got no contract like that, right? He back on the minimum contract, right?
Yeah, Westbrook, yeah.
And then if they trade CP3, if he get bought out, he could maybe potentially be on one too. I'm just saying, like, they can make it work. If someone can make it work, it's Chris Paul. Not only because Russell Westbrook. And once they get these dudes, first off, Chris Paul getting hurt. Let's call it what it is. This man getting hurt. Oh my gosh. He getting hurt. And at that point, you don't need somebody in the game. You might as well keep Westbrook for that chance.
All right, I'm not even touching that. Like, look, I just want to ask before I get to the draft stuff. How are we feeling about Dame? And I know the talk is Miami, and I know he hasn't officially asked out. I feel like Portland's going to have to actually force this man out. I don't think he's actually going to ask because he got to keep.
Which they need to do.
What? Okay, so that's what's going to ask. So how bad do they need to do it? Because
now,
right? I mean, because if you're Portland with the number 3 pick, let me throw a scenario real quick. Let's say Scoot goes 2, Wemby goes 1. If you get Brandon Miller, do you keep Damian Lillard as like a better fit at that point, or does it not make a difference who you draft?
It does not make. Listen, Portland. I don't care. Like they can get Scoot, they can get Brandon Miller. Like it doesn't matter who falls into their laps. They're not going to be good enough to compete. Because again, the Suns. I don't agree necessarily with their move, but they've gotten better. The Lakers are still there. The Warriors are still there. Denver is still there. I don't care who you bring alongside Damian Lillard. You're not going to be good enough to compete. He's 32, 33 years old. He still has an appealing contract just because of the way he was playing. Last year might have been his best statistical year out of any so far in his career. Go ahead and trade him while the iron is hot. You are not going to compete. I love Damian Lillard. I love that he has his singular focus to stay with Portland, to be a ride or die. That's all good when you're competing. You cannot compete with him anymore. You don't have anybody to bring there. Like even there's a rumor out there that they might trade their number 3 pick for Zion Williamson. If they can possibly do that, then I guess you wait and see what happens. But if it starts to look kind of shaky midway through the year, I still say you try to trade Damian by the trade deadline.
And Jesse, I mean, where do you want to see Dame go the most? And I'm sure he's probably only got a couple options, but he doesn't have a no trade clause like Brad Beal did. I know that he is an option. Is the Heat, do you think, the best fit for him? Or if he does go somewhere else, do you want to see him in another squad?
Boy, we trying to root for your Heat, boy. I told you I joined the bandwagon this year. So you already know. Hey, let Dame go. I think it's like this, though. 2 things. Because, well, first I'm going to just throw this in here. Dame like Boozy right now. Is he the real one? Is he going to stay with Portland? Is he not going to sit? Or is he trying to get out and see his family and get that opportunity to shine again? Because if you want to shine, Boozy better snitch. Dame better go to Heat. He better go to Miami. But if he a real one, like he say he is, he gonna stay with Portland and Boozy doing that time. Now, if you do that time with Portland, he got to get Zion, boy. Trade that pick. I don't care what. If you can get Zion for 20 games, man, let this man be on that Kawhi Leonard minute restriction and let him loose. Because I just want to see this man in the playoffs. Because I'm gonna be honest, can't nobody guard him. And if you got him and Dame, we got problems. We got problems, boy.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you something real quick, Jesse. Let's say they theoretically they get Zion. Do you think Zion, because I know there's been a lot of rumors, and not all of it is substantiated, but there's been a lot of rumors about his conditioning, about his work habits, about his nutrition. Do you think that gets better under Damian Lillard's leadership now that he's going to a team with a great veteran leader that he kind of has to answer to? Or do you think we still have some of these issues, on the court and off the court with Zion?
Boy, first off, Zion ain't no problem. The problem is the people above Zion. And his teammates ain't no one holding him accountable. Dame, he a real one. He gonna pop Zion extra big baby looking self. and he gonna tell him what it is. Because guess what? Zion may be big, but Zion is a little soft little boy. And I don't mean disrespect him. I just mean the fact that I'm a grown man and I'm out here doing what I'm doing. And I ain't scared of nobody. You may be big and I may get beat up. Well, guess what? I come back with a bat. Like, Dame's gonna put Zion in his place and help him know he is a star. He is talented. We care about you, and we need you to take care of your body so that we can win. Because you're gonna be great. I'm great right now, and we can make this thing work. And Zion needs someone that's gonna talk to him like that. Because if you got it's just young talent, man, and every young talent just needs that vet. That how Charles Barkley had all them OGs when he was in Philadelphia to help him with his weight. Because if Charles Barkley can do it, I know Zion can do it. And Zion came into the season looking slick. Actually, he looks slim right now. I feel like people sleeping on Zion because of all this internet drama. The boy looks like he's ready right now. And it's just a matter of him trusting the team doctors. You know how these doctors be, like how Kawhi was talking about them. Like, if you got people that's not really invested in you, where they make you know that they're invested in you with how they treat you, with how they speak about you, like, the Pelicans messed themselves up just by how they went about the situation. If I got a star player, I'm keeping everything inside. Ain't nothing happening. All them girls he got, we ain't letting nobody know about this stuff. I'm paying them girls off before they can even get that Twitter response out, boy. No, for real. Look, that's how you do it.
And be on the Dwight Howard Magic program. That's
Facts, boy.
That's
exactly.
Hey, but that's what you're supposed to do.
Right there. That's exactly it.
Yeah, I think there's a parts of the organization could have failed him a little bit. I kind of agree with that. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's all on him, right? I'm sure he has people trying to talk to him in New Orleans. CJ McCollum's a vet. They got a relatively young squad, but I'm sure there's people trying to talk to him. But I do think, though, if he does go to a new location, which, again, I'm on record saying I think the Pelicans should keep him, right? Like, you got to figure this out.
Yeah.
However, if he does go to a new situation, you know how it is. You go to a new job, a new situation, like, you kind of have like that internal motivation just because you're gonna have that chip on your shoulder, like, oh, they threw me away. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't believe in me. So like, you're automatically gonna kind of have that thing. But in general, with the weight problems, all these great players, we've talked about this before, they have these issues, right? And sometimes they got to go over that hump. You talked about Barkley. How about Joel Embiid, right? Remember Joel Embiid had all the injuries early on and the weight, and then he was eating cheeseburgers and watching Naruto before games, right? And then now he cut the weight down, and he's been an MVP candidate essentially ever since and winning an MVP. And then, Luka, you see him in the lab, right? Losing weight. That's his next step, right? Like, a lot of these guys kind of have to go through it where they just kind of figure out, like, hey, I can't really operate the same way I normally want to be. And I think the hard part for guys like Zion and Luka and Embiid, when they were out of shape, they were still like the best players in the league. You know what I mean? Like, so in their head, they're like, why do I need to get in shape? I'm already killing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just assuming, but like, if I'm Zion, like, yeah, I'm not even in shape, but I'm still averaging 23 and 6 in my sleep. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even like but sometimes you got to point to them, like you said, maybe a vet like Dame Lillard is just like, hey, or maybe an organization as a whole, right? Just like that change of scenery and point them in the right direction, kind of just show them. Maybe it is a matter of, like you said, Jesse, are people not just they say they believe in them, but are they telling him that, right? Like, and if your names are in trade rumors, I know one thing about trade rumors. People, no matter how great of a player you is, if you're in trade rumors, that doubt's going to creep in your mind, right? Like, no matter what. So, I don't know. I mean, that's going to be a situation we're going to kind of monitor going forward. But
He getting traded this week, boy. By Thursday morning, that man getting traded.
you think he's done?
Listen, boy, the Pelicans have messed it up too bad. Like
Wow.
boy, the Pelicans messed up the way he messed up. You messed up, boy. Like, just let it go. Let it go. Let everyone start from new. And hopefully they get a bunch of picks. That number 3 pick brings Scoot in. They be straight.
Speaking of number 3 picks, that actually swings me to what I want to talk about with the draft. So I'm going to introduce a new segment called Bet You Forgot. We've been kind of workshopping this, so this is going to be kind of new, but I want to bring this up in regards to the draft. So I'm going to ask you, both of you guys, by the way, off the top of your head, do you guys remember the last non-American number 1 pick? Anybody? Nobody? Yes? No? Maybe so?
Trey, who you going to say? Was it Andrew Bogut, though? Or
not Andrew Bogut. Trey, you got an answer?
Oh, man, I don't even have an answer.
All right, so the answer is, I bet you forgot the last number 1 overall pick that's not American was DeAndre Ayton, 2018 from the Bahamas.
I forgot that he's from the Bahamas.
So, yeah, I can see you may be thinking, like, didn't go to college in the States, so I can kind of see your brain going somewhere. But I wanted to give people some overall history about the draft, what's going on, and kind of let people know, I bet everybody forgot. I bet you forgot that the NBA draft is essentially a crapshoot, and that even is for the top picks. So just a couple things for people to think about, right? I don't know if you guys know. I didn't know before doing the research, but there's only been 6 teams ever to never have the first pick. That's Memphis. You got Utah, OKC, Indiana, Denver, and Miami. So the 2 championship teams never had the first overall pick. Now, I went through a list, all right? I'm not going to read the whole list for you guys, but I went through all the lists of the number 1 overall pick since 2010. Okay. I'm not going to go through the list, but I'm going to tell you guys from what I went through, there's only 7 guys I consider to have either semi-successful careers or really successful. I got John Wall, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns. I put Ben Simmons in there, but I'm willing to push back on that. Zion, and Anthony Edwards. And I know Zion and Ben Simmons are probably the 2 that you're not sure, but Ben Simmons was successful in a part, and I think Zion will get there. The people that we're waiting on that I got no answer on yet is Cade Cunningham, Paolo Banchero, and of course DeAndre Ayton. Those are the 3.
Boy, Paolo, put him on the list already. He
is, but it's only been a year, so I got to be fair. So I got to put them on. So now in terms of the draft, less than half the players in the top 5 since 2004 have made an all-star team. So it's a very small number. The last 12 number 1 picks have never won an MVP or even received a first-place vote. The last 12 number 1 picks. So I say all that to say these are things for people to think about. Victor Wembanyama is going first overall. I know he's a generational talent, but the number 1 overall pick isn't guaranteed. Now, I'll take it even a step further. We'll go back 30 years. This is really ending in 2020. The biggest thing about these picks, I don't want people to realize, number 1 pick is going to be always talked about. So is number 2. But the Magic, Jesse, is actually the number 3 pick when you go back in these drafts. So the last 30 years, only 40% of the second overall picks have become all-stars or made an all-star team. You know, the third overall pick, it's 56%, 17 out of 30. So it's a big number. All right. By the way, picks number 4, picks number 9 got a higher percentage at 33%. So there's going to be a lot of gems in the top 10 picks. All right. Okay. Lastly, actually second to last thing I should say, I went through and looked at the top 3 picks dating back all the way to 2013. All right. And majority of these picks, the best player in these drafts, in my opinion, is the third overall pick. So in 2013 is kind of a tough one. That's Anthony Bennett, Oladipo, Otto Porter Jr. That nobody really wins there, but Oladipo is probably the best guy. Oladipo's the best guy, so that's number 2. That's number 2. 2014, you got Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Embiid. Embiid's the third overall pick, the best player. 2015, it's Cat, D'Lo, Jahlil Okafor. Cat's number 1. 2016 is a legit argument. You got Ben Simmons 1, Brandon Ingram 2, Jaylen Brown 3.
Yeah, Jaylen.
Jaylen Brown's probably the best player of the 3. 2017, the very next year, you got Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, Jason Tatum, number 3 overall pick. Then the very next year, so it's 3 years in a row, DeAndre Ayton, Bagley, and of course Luka. So you got 3 years in a row. The number 3 overall pick is actually the guy that ends up being the best player. Now, when you go throughout the next years, it's not too much. You got Zion, Ja, RJ. It's probably not going to be RJ. 2020, Ant-Man, Wiseman, LaMelo Ball. I can make the argument for LaMelo Ball. It's probably going to be Ant-Man. I'm sure you guys probably agree. And then 2021 is the closest one. You were just talking about him, Jesse. Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, and Evan Mobley. So I can make the argument, honestly, for Cade or Evan Mobley, but Evan Mobley off a recency bias. So number 3 overall pick is my overall point to this. That's the pick that you got to look forward to in the draft. And then finally, Jesse, Trey, at the edge of the lottery, pay attention to who these names are going to be because some of these guys end up being stars. And the magic I found going back to, again, 2013 is pick number 11, 12, or 13. Primarily 11 or 13. And I'll go every year. 2013, and I know this is your boy, Jesse. Michael Carter-Williams got picked 11th.
Yeah.
He was rookie of the year. He had some injuries, but we all kind of agree he would have had kind of a successful career. 2014, 13th overall pick, Zach LaVine. 2015, 13th overall pick, Devin Booker. 2016, number 11, Domantas Sabonis. 2017, these are all back-to-back years. 2017, number 13, again, Donovan Mitchell. By the way, shout out Bam Adebayo. He was 14th, but that's not part of this. Yeah, but 2018, number 11, your boy Trey. Your boy actually Jesse, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, number 11. Yeah. 2019, number 13, Tyler Hero. 2020, number 12, Tyrese Halliburton. We don't talk about 2021. That's Duarte, Bouknight, and Josh Primo. I'm just gonna leave that alone. And then 2022, a guy that we've talked about on this podcast a little bit, number 12, Jalen Williams from OKC. He's not a household name to everybody, but he's a guy that's probably going to be a future All-Star at this point. So my final predictions for this draft coming up. The best player in this draft we think is going to be Victor Wembanyama. But I feel like whoever gets drafted number 3, whether it's Brandon Miller or Scoot, we're going to look back on, and he's going to be the guy that has, if not the most successful career, maybe the second most successful career. And then pay attention to the very edge of the lottery. So picks 11, 12, and 13. Those are going to be the picks that could be the game changers and going to be the future max players and all-stars in this league. Jesse, Trey, your thoughts?
I've been said that these with these drafts, these top dudes, they flame out, man. I always say that every year. I enjoy watching it just because, like, you get to see the people. For me, I see the people that I've been watching throughout the college season. But as you stated within those numbers, it's hit or miss, and there's a lot of misses, mainly misses, to be honest with you.
Yep.
And once you get later in the draft, that's when you really get those downs. But for this year, I think it's gonna be a little different, just because that Wemby boy, if he can stay healthy, that's the thing. That's if he stays healthy, but Pop don't miss with these number ones, dog. He like Drake boy on the feature. He don't miss. So I think it's gonna be something different because Wemby, he gonna be that one. And between Scoot or Miller, which one, but I think Scoot just because he like that build I've been saying this all year long. There's John Wall, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook. He may not last to his 30s, but while he in his 20s, he gonna be that guy. And with Miller, I've watched him a lot this year at Alabama. My only thing is that these long, skinny dudes that you need to shoot jump shots. Like it take a while for them to develop, and I think it's gonna be rough for him. That's my honest thought.
And the only thing before you get in here, Trey, the only thing we can all say for certainty, every year, no matter all the years I just read, and it was a mouthful, those top 3 picks, it's never all 3 guys that are always going to be all-stars that are successful. No matter how you slice it, first, second, third, whatever, it always seems like it falls on the second pick. I don't think it's an exact science. I think it just could be a coincidence. But like you said, if Wemby's one, chances are it's only going to be Brandon Miller or Scoot, right? That's going to be really good. And it's probably only going to be one of them. And then we got to look at the end of the lottery. But Trey, your thoughts?
Kind of to jump on Jesse's point, I think that this draft might be a little bit different because, normally the number 1 pick really doesn't, in retrospect, shouldn't have been the number 1 pick. But I think this is one of those kind of generational players where you have a LeBron James, a Wemby, even a Zion, if he can stay healthy, where it's just like they have to be number 1 just because of the potential and the talent they've showed thus far. So I think that Wemby, it's a big if he can stay healthy, will be the number 1 player. But yeah, if he falls to that number 3 position, I think Scoot is the second best player in this draft. I mean, I'm really high on Scoot. I think he's comparable to Russell Westbrook and John Wall and Derrick Rose, one of those really explosive athletic point guards who can really kill the dribble penetration and kill the pick and roll in today's game. So if he's able to fall to number 3, yeah, I really do think that the number 3 pick in this draft might end up being the best player in the draft if Wemby has injuries throughout his career, which I hope he doesn't.
And just to add, that boy Michael Jordan can't pick for his doggone life. And that's his last one. He going out with a bang, but we've been like, yeah, you shouldn't be no GM. Should not be no owner. Get out of here. He goes, one last time, hit us with an MKG. That's going to be Miller, unfortunately. I'm sorry, my boy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't understand that one, why they're so excited to Miller, but hey, go for it.
Okay, but I did want to ask a question. How do you guys feel? Because when I went through that list, I was surprised when I looked at the edge of the lottery, all these back-to-back years, number 11, 13. These guys I read, Devin Booker, Mitchell, Levine, these are star players, right? Shea. So are you thinking we're potentially looking at probably a guy we're overlooking, like in this draft, kind of like, I mean, I know just so people get familiar with some names, like you got Grady Dick from Kansas, you got Derek Lively, the second from Duke, guys, Taylor Hendricks from UCF, right? Local guy. Like you got a lot of these guys that are probably going to be at the edge of the lottery. Even Jordan Hawkins, the guy from UConn, right? The shooter. So like, do you think we may have a year where we get a guy like that as well, just based on the trend?
Most definitely. And there's this one dude, I forgot his name. He a shooter from some school ain't nobody heard of. I forgot what this dude's name was, but there will definitely be one. There's always one. And it's going to be about February of next year when we figure out, oh, he was him.
Right. Yeah. It's tough. It's tough every single time. I mean, Trey, I don't know if you, because I know it's basically just top heavy in this draft. Do you think the trend will continue? Do you think we'll get a guy in the late in the lottery that'll kind of be a guy we look back on? Yeah.
You always do. I mean, it's pretty much a given. You always do. Now, that doesn't mean that this guy's going to be, potentially the best player in the league 5 or 6 years from now. I'm not saying it's going to be to that level, but I am saying that you can get somebody like a Paul George where it's like, okay, they're a multi-time all-star and, they could be the second best player on a team that wins the championship. Yeah, I think you can get a player like that late in the first round. Who that player would be, who knows?
And that's the problem. That's the problem with the draft. You never know. Like, if people knew Tyrese Halliburton or Mitchell or Booker, they'd obviously be picked in a different spot. So that's the excitement part of the draft. I can't wait till the actual draft comes about. But I want to thank everybody so much for joining us once again. We got a lot of content for you guys this summer. So keep up with us, right? Free agency started with a bang. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about, projections going forward. And then we still got football. So football is going to be coming up. But let us know in the comments how you guys feel. I want to thank Jesse so much for always joining us, man, and being a gracious guest. And I will swing it to Trey.
Again, Jesse, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate having you on the show. You're always a warm welcome to come back on the show. Really do appreciate it. And just for the viewers, please let us know if you want us to change anything else. If you want to hear a new segment, if you have any suggestions for Nola's new segment, feel free to give us some advice. We're willing to take it. Again, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube Shorts. So until next week, peace.